This is the happiest day of my life." Mia whispered those words to her bridesmaids as they adjusted her veil in the bridal suite. She repeated them again when her father kissed her forehead, and one final time as she stood at the altar, staring into Daniel's tear-filled eyes. But happiness can be the cruelest illusion, because standing just 3 feet away, holding the wedding rings with a smile that fooled everyone in that church, was the man who had already decided Mia would never see another sunrise. Have you ever trusted someone simply because the person you love trusted them completely? Have you ever let your guard down around a stranger just because they wore the label of best friend? That's exactly what Mia did, and it cost her everything. Let me take you back to where this nightmare truly began. 3 years before that devastating wedding day, Mia Williams grew up in a small Georgia town where everyone knew everyone's business. She was the girl neighbors described as too gentle for this world, the type who rescued injured birds, who apologized when others bumped into her, who believed that goodness always won in the end. Her mother used to worry about that softness. "Baby," she'd say, "not everyone deserves your trust." But Mia would just smile. "Mama, if I stop trusting people, what kind of person does that make me?" Those words would haunt her mother for the rest of her life. When Mia turned 26, her family began pressuring her about marriage. Not because they were old-fashioned, but because they'd watched her go through relationship after relationship with men who took advantage of her kindness. Men who borrowed money and never repaid it. Men who made promises and disappeared like smoke. Then Daniel Patterson walked into her life at a mutual friend's barbecue. That he wasn't flashy, wasn't the loudest person in the room. But when Mia dropped her plate, Daniel was the first person at her side, helping her clean up without making her feel embarrassed. When she mentioned she loved old jazz music, he actually listened instead of changing the subject. "You're different," Mia told him on their third date. Daniel smiled. "Different how?" "You make me feel safe." If only she knew that safety was about to become her greatest vulnerability. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Daniel worked as a financial analyst, had his own apartment, drove a reliable car, called when he said he would. Mia's family celebrated because finally, their gentle girl had found someone worthy of her heart. But Daniel didn't come alone, that he came as a package deal with Jordan Mitchell, his best friend since childhood. "Jordan and I are like brothers," Daniel explained during their first dinner together. "If you're with me, you're going to see a lot of him too. Hope that's okay." Mia looked across the table at Jordan. Tall, charming, always ready with a compliment. He raised his glass to her. "To Mia," Jordan said with that slow, measured smile. The woman who finally tamed Daniel's heart. Everyone laughed, but Mia felt something cold slide down her spine. Something she couldn't name. Something that made her shift uncomfortably in her seat. Why does our body sometimes know what our mind refuses to see? Over the following months, Jordan became a constant presence. Sunday football at Daniel's place. Double dates with Jordan's rotating girlfriends. Late-night calls when Jordan needed advice or just wanted to talk. "He's been through a lot," Daniel explained when Mia gently suggested Jordan was around too often. "His parents died when we were teenagers. I'm all he's got." And there it was. The guilt. The manipulation disguised as loyalty. How could Mia complain about Jordan without seeming heartless? How could she express discomfort without appearing jealous or insecure? So she stayed quiet, pushed down that nagging feeling, told herself she was imagining things. But she wasn't imagining the way Jordan looked at her when Daniel left the room. She wasn't imagining how he'd stand too close when helping her with groceries. She wasn't imagining his hand lingering on her lower back during group photos. "Jordan makes me uncomfortable," Mia finally confessed to Daniel one night, 18 months into their relationship. Daniel's face fell. "Uncomfortable how?" "I don't know. He looks at me strangely sometimes." "Baby, Jordan's harmless. He's awkward around women. Always has been. That's why his relationships never work out." Daniel pulled her close. He's probably just trying too hard to make you like him because you're important to me. And that's how predators survive. They rely on good people making excuses for them. 2 years into dating. Daniel proposed at the same barbecue where they first met. Down on one knee, trembling hands, tears in his eyes. Mia Williams, you are the safest place I've ever known. Will you marry me? She said yes through tears of joy. Their families cheered. Friends rushed forward with congratulations. And Jordan watched from the edge of the crowd with an expression that one guest would later describe to police as hunger mixed with rage. But in that moment of celebration, no one was looking at Jordan. Everyone was looking at the happy couple. That was his advantage. He'd spent years perfecting invisibility. Wedding planning consumed the next several months. Mia dove into every detail with enthusiasm, picking colors, tasting cakes, addressing invitations by hand because she wanted everything to feel personal. But as the date approached, Jordan's involvement increased to an unusual level. He volunteered to handle the rehearsal dinner venue. He offered to coordinate transportation for out-of-town guests. He called Mia directly, sometimes multiple times a day, always with the excuse of making things easier for Daniel. Don't you think Jordan's being a bit much? Mia's maid of honor, Keisha, asked during dress shopping. Daniel says Jordan's excited because he's the best man. This is important to him. Keisha bit her lip. Mia, I need to tell you something. Last week at the venue walkthrough, Jordan cornered me. Asked if you ever talked about him. Want to know if you'd mentioned him to your bridesmaids. Mia's stomach tightened. What did you say? I told him no. But girl, something about him feels wrong. The way he talks about you. It's like Daniel doesn't even exist in his mind. You're reading too much into it. But Keisha grabbed Mia's hand. Promise me you won't be alone with him. Not at the rehearsal dinner. Not at the wedding. Nowhere. Promise me. Mia laughed nervously. You're being dramatic. Then promise me anyway. Okay, I promise. A promise she would break. A promise that would cost her life. The week before the wedding, strange things began happening. Mia received anonymous calls, just breathing on the other end. When she answered, silence. When Daniel called the number back, it was disconnected. Her apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen. Just drawers opened, clothes disturbed, as if someone had been searching for something or simply wanted her to know they'd been there. Should we call the police? Daniel asked, clearly shaken. And tell them what? That someone rearranged my underwear drawer. Mia tried to laugh it off, but fear was crawling under her skin. Jordan came by that evening, supposedly to comfort them. He walked through the apartment, checking windows, offering security advice. But when Mia went to the kitchen to make coffee, she caught him in her bedroom doorway, just staring at her bed with an expression she couldn't decipher. Jordan, you okay? He snapped to attention, smile sliding back into place. Just making sure all your windows are secure. Can't be too careful. But his eyes told a different story. Why do we ignore our instincts? Why do we gaslight ourselves into dismissing danger? The night before the wedding, Mia couldn't sleep. She stood by her window, watching the street below, wondering if she was being watched in return. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Tomorrow you become his. But you were always meant to be mine. Mia's hand shook as she read the message. She wanted to wake Daniel, show him, demand they figure out who was doing this. But she didn't. Because tomorrow was her wedding day. Tomorrow was supposed to be perfect. Tomorrow was supposed to be the beginning of her new life. She had no idea it would be the end. If you're watching this and you've ever ignored a gut feeling about someone, drop instinct in the comments. Because what happened next proves that our bodies know danger before our minds accept it. The morning of the wedding arrived with golden sunshine streaming through lace curtains. Birds sang outside Mia's hotel window. Her bridesmaids bustled around her, laughing, sipping champagne, applying makeup with precision and care. Everything looked perfect, like a scene from a romantic movie. But perfection is often just a carefully constructed lie, hiding the rot underneath. You ready to become Mrs. Patterson? Keisha asked, adjusting Mia's veil. I've been ready for this my whole life. Those words, so innocent, so full of hope. How do you tell someone that the best day of their life is about to become their last? Mia's dress was everything she dreamed of. Ivory lace with delicate beading that caught the light with every movement. A cathedral veil that flowed behind her like a waterfall. Her mother cried when she saw her. "My beautiful baby girl," she whispered, holding Mia's face. "You deserve all the happiness in this world." But the world doesn't operate on what we deserve, does it? The world operates on what we allow, what we overlook, what we fail to protect. The ceremony was held at a historic church downtown, the kind with stained glass windows that painted rainbow patterns across wooden pews. 300 guests filled the seats. Soft piano music drifted through the air. White roses adorned every surface. Daniel stood at the altar in his tuxedo, hands clasped in front of him, eyes glistening. And beside him, holding the rings, straightening Daniel's tie, patting his shoulder reassuringly, was Jordan. The best man, the trusted friend, the monster in plain sight. When the music changed and Mia appeared at the end of the aisle, every head turned. Gasps of admiration rippled through the crowd. Her father's grip on her arm tightened with emotion. But Mia only had eyes for Daniel. Her future, her safety, her home. She didn't notice Jordan's expression shift when he saw her. Didn't see his jaw clench or his fists tighten around the ring box. Didn't see the way he looked at her like a man starving, desperate, unraveling. Keisha saw it. She was watching Jordan from her place at the bridesmaid's side, and what she witnessed made her blood run cold. She would later tell police. He looked at Mia like she was already dead. But weddings are chaos. Emotions run high. Keisha convinced herself she was being paranoid. We're taught to give people the benefit of the doubt. Taught that suspicion without proof makes us the bad guy. That hesitation, that politeness, that fear of causing a scene. It gives evil all the time it needs. The ceremony proceeded flawlessly. Vows were exchanged with trembling voices and tears of joy. Rings slipped onto fingers. The pastor pronounced them husband and wife. "You may kiss your bride." Daniel lifted Mia's veil, cupped her face, and kissed her with such tenderness that the audience erupted in applause. Mia felt happiness explode in her chest. This was it. She'd made it. She was safe now, loved, protected. But as she and Daniel walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, Mia's eyes briefly met Jordan's. And in that split second, she saw something that made her stumble. Pure, undiluted hatred. Not jealousy, not disappointment. Hatred. Daniel caught her elbow. "You okay?" "Yeah, these heels." She laughed it off, waved to guests, smiled for photos. But that look burrowed into her mind like a parasite. The reception was held at an upscale venue 15 minutes away. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, tables decorated with flowers that cost more than most people's monthly rent. A live band played jazz, Mia's favorite. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. The first hour passed in a blur of congratulations, toasts, and first dances. Mia's feet ached in her heels, but she didn't care. She danced with Daniel, with her father, with her grandfather who could barely stand but insisted on one song with his granddaughter. Jordan gave a best man speech that had everyone laughing and crying. "Daniel is the brother I never had by blood, but gained by choice," Jordan said, raising his glass. "And Mia, you are the most beautiful, most trusting soul I've ever met. Daniel is the luckiest man alive." The way he said, "trusting," sent a chill through several guests, though they wouldn't realize why until later. Applause filled the room. Daniel hugged Jordan, genuinely moved. Mia smiled politely, but something felt wrong. The word trusting kept echoing in her mind. Why had he emphasized it? Why had he looked directly at her when he said it? Around 7:30, after dinner was served and the cake was cut, Daniel was pulled away by his uncle for photos. Extended family members wanted pictures with the groom. Mia understood. She kissed his cheek and told him to go. "I'll be right here," she promised. But she wouldn't be. Mia realized she'd left her phone in the bridal suite upstairs. The venue had multiple floors, including private preparation rooms for wedding parties. She wanted to check messages from guests who couldn't attend. "I'll come with you," Keisha offered. "No, stay. Enjoy yourself. I'll be 2 minutes." That decision, that single decision. How many times do we make small choices that alter the entire trajectory of our lives? Mia gathered her dress and headed toward the hallway leading to the elevator. The music from the reception faded behind her. The hallway was quieter, dimly lit with elegant sconces. She pressed the elevator button and waited. Behind her, footsteps approached. "Need some help finding your way?" Mia turned. Jordan stood there, hands in his pockets, that same slow smile on his face. "Oh, hey. No, I'm good. Just forgot my phone upstairs. I'll ride up with you." These venues can be confusing. "Really, Jordan, I'm fine." But he was already stepping into the elevator with her. The doors closed, trapping them in that small space together. Mia's heart rate spiked. She pressed herself against the wall, maintaining distance. The elevator hummed as it climbed. "Beautiful ceremony," Jordan said, not looking at her. "Everything you dreamed of." Yes, it was perfect. Perfect. He repeated the word slowly, as if tasting it. "You know what's funny about perfect things, Mia?" She didn't respond. The elevator seemed to be moving in slow motion. Perfect things are meant to be ruined. The elevator dinged. "Third floor." The doors opened. Mia rushed out, her dress catching briefly on the elevator door. Jordan followed at a leisurely pace, as if they were simply two wedding guests taking a casual stroll. The third floor was deserted. All the guests were downstairs. The bridal suite was at the end of a long corridor. Mia's heels clicked against marble as she walked quickly, increasingly aware of Jordan's presence behind her. "You've always been too good for him, you know." Mia didn't turn around, kept walking. "Jordan, I really need to get back. He doesn't see you the way I do, doesn't appreciate what he has." She reached the bridal suite door. Her hand trembled as she pushed it open. The room was dark, lit only by city lights filtering through windows. Her phone sat on the vanity where she'd left it. Mia grabbed it quickly and turned to leave. Jordan blocked the doorway. "Excuse me." Her voice shook. "Do you have any idea how long I've waited for this? How many nights I've imagined? Move. Now. Or what? You'll scream? Go ahead. No one can hear you up here. The walls are soundproofed. That's why they use this floor for bridal preparations. Privacy." Terror flooded Mia's system. "Daniel is looking for me. He'll come. Daniel is taking photos with 50 relatives. He won't notice you're gone for another 20 minutes. Maybe 30. Jordan stepped into the room, closed the door behind him, locked it. The sound of that lock clicking into place was the sound of Mia's world ending. "Please." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Please don't do this." "Don't do what?" Jordan's voice turned mocking. "I'm just talking to you. Aren't friends allowed to talk?" But his eyes told her exactly what he intended to do. Mia backed away, calculating. The room had one door, now blocked. Windows, but they were 3 floors up. No balcony, no fire escape. Her phone was in her hand, but Jordan was between her and any escape. She tried to dial 911. Jordan moved with terrifying speed, snatching the phone from her grip and throwing it against the wall. It shattered, pieces scattering across the floor. No phones, no interruptions. Just you and me, Mia. The way it should have been from the beginning. "Why are you doing this?" Her voice broke. "I never did anything to you. That's the problem." Jordan's mask finally cracked, revealing the madness underneath. "You never did anything. Never looked at me. Never saw me. It was always Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. But I was there first. I introduced you too. This was supposed to be temporary until he got bored. And then you'd finally see me." Mia's mind raced. "Keep him talking. Someone will come. Someone has to come. Jordan, if you have feelings for me, this isn't the way. Feelings? He laughed, a horrible, broken sound. I'm past feelings. You're wearing his ring. You said his vows. But before this night ends, you'll know who you really belong to. He moved toward her. Mia grabbed a champagne bottle from the vanity and swung it at his head. It connected with his temple. Jordan stumbled, blood trickling down his face. She ran for the door, fumbling with the lock, her wedding dress tangling around her legs. Jordan recovered faster than she expected. He grabbed her veil, yanking her backward with such force that the delicate fabric tore. Mia screamed, but Jordan clamped his hand over her mouth. Scream again, and I'll make this slower. Fight me, and it'll be worse. Understand? This is the moment. The moment every woman fears. The moment when you realize no amount of kindness, caution, or good behavior could have prevented this. Because predators don't hunt the careless. They hunt the trusting. Downstairs, the reception continued. Music played. Guests danced. Daniel finished his photos and went looking for his bride. Has anyone seen Mia? He asked the bridesmaids. She went to get her phone, Keisha said. Like 15 minutes ago. 15 minutes? To get her phone. Something cold settled in Daniel's chest. He headed toward the elevators, Keisha following. They rode up to the 3rd floor in tense silence. The hallway was empty. The bridal suite door was closed. Daniel knocked. Mia? Baby, you in there? No response. He tried the handle. Locked. Mia. His voice rose with panic. That's when they heard it. A muffled thump, like something heavy falling. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He slammed his shoulder against the door once, twice. The lock held. Get security, he screamed at Keisha. She ran. Daniel kept slamming against the door over and over, shouting his wife's name, terror clawing at his throat. What Daniel found when that door finally opened would destroy him. What the investigators would piece together over the following weeks would shock an entire city. But the most horrifying detail? Someone else had been in that room, with Jordan and Mia, and they'd done nothing to stop it. Drop continue in the comments if you need to know what happened in that room. But I'm warning you, the truth is darker than you can imagine. The security guard arrived with a master key, but Daniel didn't wait. One final shoulder slam, and the door frame splintered, wood cracking like bones breaking. The door swung open. What Daniel saw in those first 3 seconds would replay in his nightmares for the rest of his life. The bridal suite looked like a crime scene from a horror film. Overturned furniture, shattered glass, Mia's wedding veil torn and scattered across the floor like snow after a storm. And in the corner, crumpled against the wall in her destroyed wedding dress, was Mia. Her body was still, too still. Mia. Daniel's scream was primal, the sound of a soul being ripped apart. He rushed to her, dropping to his knees, cradling her broken body. Her face was bruised, makeup smeared with tears and blood. Her dress was torn in ways that made the security guard turn away in horror. Baby, look at me. Look at me. Daniel's hand shook as he checked for a pulse. There. Faint. But there. She's alive. Call 911. Now. Keisha stood frozen in the doorway, hand over her mouth, unable to process what she was seeing. The security guard barked into his radio for paramedics. But Daniel's mind was racing past the horror, reaching for the obvious question that would haunt him forever. Where is Jordan? He looked around the room frantically. The window was closed. The bathroom door was open, empty. There was only one exit, the door they'd just broken through, which meant Jordan had left before they arrived, had walked out calmly while Mia lay dying, had probably passed guests in the hallway, maybe even rejoined the reception downstairs. Rage unlike anything Daniel had ever experienced flooded his system. He wanted to hunt Jordan down and tear him apart with his bare hands. But Mia needed him more. Stay with me, baby. Stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open briefly. Her lips moved, trying to form words. Don't talk. Save your strength. But she kept trying. Daniel leaned closer, his ear to her mouth. One word, barely a whisper. Camera. Then her eyes closed again. Camera. What did that mean? The paramedics burst into the room 3 minutes later. They assessed Mia quickly, their professional calm masking the horror of what they saw. One of them, a woman with kind eyes, pulled Daniel aside as her partner worked. Sir, I need you to step back and let us work. That's my wife, I know, and we're going to do everything we can. But you need to let us do our job. Daniel stumbled backward, watching helplessly as they stabilized Mia, loaded her onto a stretcher, hooked up IVs. Their movements were efficient but gentle, treating her with a dignity that made tears stream down Daniel's face. As they wheeled her toward the elevator, Daniel followed. The reception had descended into chaos below. Guests crowded the lobby, confused and frightened. Word had spread that something terrible had happened. Daniel's family tried to stop him, ask questions, offer support. He pushed through them all, his eyes locked on the stretcher carrying his wife. But as they passed through the lobby, Daniel's eyes swept the crowd, looking for Jordan. That's when he saw something that made his blood freeze. Jordan was sitting calmly at the bar, drink in hand, watching the chaos unfold with an expression of mild interest. When his eyes met Daniel's, he raised his glass in a mock toast, then smiled. Daniel broke away from the paramedics and charged toward him. Jordan didn't run, didn't move, just sat there sipping his drink as Daniel closed the distance. You're dead. You hear me? You're. Security tackled Daniel before he could reach Jordan. 3 men holding him back as he screamed, fighting, trying to get free. And Jordan set down his drink, stood up, straightened his tie, and walked calmly out the front entrance. By the time police arrived 5 minutes later, he was gone. Have you ever felt rage so pure it physically burns? That helpless fury when the person who destroyed your world walks away free? Comment justice if you think Jordan deserves what's coming to the hospital. Doctors worked on Mia for 7 hours. Daniel sat in the surgical waiting room, his tuxedo still on, blood on his hands and sleeves, staring at nothing. His family surrounded him, but he couldn't hear their words of comfort. His mind kept replaying that smile. Jordan's smile, the smile of someone who'd won. A detective arrived around 2 a.m. Detective Lisa Martinez, Homicide Division. Her presence told Daniel everything about how seriously they were taking this. Mr. Patterson, I need to ask you some questions about Jordan Mitchell. Daniel's voice was hollow. He raped my wife. On our wedding day. In our wedding venue. And then he sat at the bar and had a drink. Detective Martinez's jaw tightened. We're doing everything we can to locate him. But I need you to tell me everything you know. When did you last see him? Does he have family? Friends he might run to? He doesn't have anyone. That's what he always said. That Daniel was all he had. The voice came from behind them. They turned. Keisha stood there, still in her bridesmaid dress, holding something in her hand. I found this in the bridal suite. Under the vanity. She held up a small camera. A nanny cam, the kind disguised as a clock. Mia said camera before she passed out, Daniel whispered. She was trying to tell me. Detective Martinez took the camera carefully. This could be evidence. Did you know this was there? No, Keisha said. But the venue uses these rooms for bridal preparations. Maybe they have them for security purposes. Or maybe, the unspoken thought hung in the air. Maybe Jordan had planted it. I'll need to take this to our tech unit, Martinez said. If there's footage, it could give us everything we need. The sun rose on what should have been the first day of Daniel and Mia's honeymoon. Instead, Daniel stood outside the intensive care unit, waiting for permission to see his wife. A surgeon approached, still in scrubs, exhaustion etched into her features. Mr. Patterson, he stood immediately. Is she? She's alive. Stable. But the surgeon's expression was grim. Your wife sustained severe internal injuries. The assault was extensive. She has what's called a vaginal fistula, which is... I know what it is. Daniel's voice cracked. The term had haunted his nightmares during the 7-hour wait. The physical damage will require multiple surgeries to repair. But Mr. Patterson, I need you to understand that the psychological trauma. Can I see her? The surgeon nodded. She's sedated. Might not wake for several hours. But yes. Daniel entered the ICU room alone. The sight of Mia hooked up to machines, her face swollen and bruised, broke something fundamental inside him. He pulled a chair next to her bed, took her hand gently, and wept. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I should have protected you. I should have listened when you said he made you uncomfortable. I should have. But guilt is a poison that changes nothing. Mia was broken. Jordan was free. And Daniel was left holding the pieces of a life that would never be whole again. WY Day 2. The story had exploded across social media. Bride attacked at wedding reception. National news picked it up. The venue released a statement. Mia's family hired lawyers. But still no Jordan. He'd vanished like smoke. His apartment was empty, cleared out. His car was found abandoned 3 states away. His phone was off. His bank accounts untouched. He planned this. Detective Martinez told Daniel during an update meeting. This wasn't a crime of passion. The camera, the escape route, everything. This was premeditated. How long? Daniel asked. What? How long was he planning this? Martinez hesitated. Based on what we're finding, possibly from the moment you met Mia. The room tilted. 3 years. Jordan had been planning this for 3 years. There's something else, Martinez said carefully. We recovered the footage from that camera. And Mr. Patterson, it's worse than you know. She pulled out her laptop, opened a video file, then paused. Before I show you this, I need to warn you. This is evidence in a criminal case. What you're about to see will destroy you. Are you certain you want to watch? Daniel's hands clenched into fists. Show me. Martinez pressed play. The footage showed the bridal suite. Timestamp. 7:43 p.m. Mia entered alone, went to the vanity, grabbed her phone. Then Jordan appeared in the doorway. Daniel watched the conversation. Watched Jordan block the exit. Watched Mia's growing terror. Watched her swing the champagne bottle. But then something happened that made no sense. After Jordan grabbed Mia, and she screamed, the door opened again. Another person entered the room. Daniel leaned forward, squinting at the screen. The angle made it hard to see clearly. The person's back was to the camera. Who is that? Daniel demanded. Keep watching. On screen, Jordan turned to the newcomer. His mouth moved. The other person nodded. And then, they closed the door, locked it from the inside, and stood guard while Jordan attacked Mia. Daniel's mind couldn't process it. Who is that? Martinez paused the video, enhanced the image, zoomed in on a reflection in the vanity mirror that captured the person's face for just a moment. When Daniel saw who it was, he stopped breathing. No, that's impossible. But the evidence didn't lie. Standing guard while Jordan raped and brutalized Mia, making sure no one interrupted, was someone Daniel knew. Someone who'd been at the wedding as a guest. Someone who'd hugged Mia during the reception and told her how happy they were for her. The second person in that room was Jordan's ex-girlfriend, Elena Rodriguez. The woman Jordan had dated on and off for 2 years. The woman he claimed broke his heart. The woman who'd attended the wedding alone because Jordan said they'd remained friends despite their breakup. She hadn't just witnessed the attack. She'd been complicit, an accomplice, a willing participant in Mia's destruction. Why? Daniel's voice was barely audible. Why would she help him? Martinez pulled up another file. We found text messages between Jordan and Elena going back 18 months. And Mr. Patterson, you need to see these. The messages painted a picture of obsession and conspiracy. Jordan, she'll never love you the way she loves him. We need to make her see. Elena, when? Jordan, the wedding. It's poetic. The day she promises herself to him forever is the day she becomes ours. Elena, and after, Jordan, we disappear. Together, just like we planned. Daniel felt bile rise in his throat. Elena was obsessed with Mia. Not with Mia. With you. Martinez pulled up Elena's social media, posts dating back years. Photos she'd taken of Daniel at group gatherings, zoomed in, cropped to remove other people. Comments analyzing his relationship with Mia. Elena was in love with you, Martinez explained. Had been since she first met you, through Jordan. The entire relationship between Jordan and Elena was a sham. They bonded over their shared obsessions. Jordan wanted Mia. Elena wanted you. They planned this together. Destroy Mia. Destroy your marriage. And in your grief and vulnerability, I turned to them for support. Daniel finished the thought, nausea overwhelming him. This is the first major twist. Two predators working together, each with their own obsession, using the wedding as their hunting ground. But there's still one more revelation that will shatter everything. The investigation intensified. With Elena's identity revealed, police had two suspects to hunt. But Jordan and Elena had vanished completely. No digital footprint. No sightings. Nothing. Days turned into weeks. Mia remained hospitalized, undergoing surgeries, slowly healing physically while her psychological wounds festered. Daniel stayed by her side every day. When she finally woke fully, for days after the attack, she couldn't speak, couldn't look at him. Her eyes held an emptiness that terrified him more than anything else. Baby, you're safe now. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But Mia turned her face to the wall. The therapist explained it gently. She's experiencing severe trauma. Right now, you represent a life she had before. The life that was stolen from her. Seeing you might be triggering. So what do? Give her time. And space. Let her come back to you when she's ready. But what if she never came back? What if Jordan had taken more than Mia's body? What if he'd taken her soul? 6 weeks after the attack, Daniel sat in Detective Martinez's office for what he thought would be a routine update. Instead, Martinez looked uncomfortable. Mr. Patterson, we've made a break in the case. But it's complicated. They found them. Not exactly. We've received a package. Delivered to the precinct. From Jordan. Daniel's blood ran cold. What kind of package? Martinez pulled out an evidence bag containing a flash drive and a handwritten letter. We've already analyzed both. The flash drive contains video files. The letter. She paused. The letter explains everything. And Daniel, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. She slid the letter across the desk. Daniel's hand shook as he read Jordan's handwriting. Dear Daniel, by the time you read this, Elena and I will be gone. Not running from consequences. We've accepted those. Running toward a truth you've been too blind to see your entire life. You think this started 3 years ago when you met Mia? Try again. This started 23 years ago when I saved your life. Remember the lake? We were 9 years old. You fell through the ice. I pulled you out, did CPR, call for help. You nearly died that day, Daniel. And from that moment forward, you owed me your life. Your parents treated me like a hero, invited me into your family, made me your brother. But I wasn't your brother. I was your savior. And saviors deserve worship, not equality. Every success you had, I was in the background. Every girlfriend you dated, I was the third wheel. Every achievement you celebrated, I was the footnote. 23 years of watching you live the life I gave you. Then you met Mia, and I saw her look at you the way Elena looks at me, like you're everything. But here's the thing, Daniel. Mia was supposed to be mine. I introduced you too. I orchestrated that barbecue. I pushed you together thinking it would be temporary, that she'd realize you weren't good enough, that she'd turn to me. But she didn't. She fell deeper in love with you. And I realized something. As long as she believed you were good, she'd never see me. I had to destroy that belief. Had to show her that the man she married couldn't protect her from his own best friend. The attack wasn't about desire. It was about ownership. You owe me your life, Daniel. Everything you are. You are because I pulled you from that lake. Mia was part of everything you had. Therefore, Mia was mine to take. Elena understood this. She understood that you were hers too, by extension. We didn't attack Mia out of passion. We did it because we're collectors claiming what's ours. The video files on this drive show you something you need to see. The full footage from that night, but also footage from other times. Your apartment, your home, places you thought were private. We've been watching for 3 years, Daniel. Collecting, documenting, building our case for why this was always meant to happen. You can hunt us. You can hate us. But you can't change the fundamental truth. I gave you life, and I took something precious from it. We're even now. Tell Mia I'm not sorry. Tell her that her pain was necessary. Tell her that she was beautiful when she broke. We'll be watching. Daniel's vision blurred with rage. His hands crumbled the letter. This is insane. He's insane. There's more. Martinez pulled up the video files on her computer. The flash drive contains footage from inside your apartment, your bedroom, your bathroom, hidden cameras Jordan installed during visits over the past 3 years. She showed Daniel clips, intimate moments between him and Mia, private conversations, vulnerable moments, all recorded without their knowledge. He was obsessed, Daniel whispered. He's been stalking us for years. Not just obsessed, psychotic. He genuinely believes he owns you because he saved your life as a child. It's a delusion that's been growing for decades. Martinez pulled up one final video file. But this is the real revelation. Recorded 2 weeks before the wedding. She pressed play. The footage showed Jordan and Elena in what appeared to be a storage unit. Elena was crying, shaking, looking terrified. I can't do this, Elena sobbed on screen. This is too far. She's innocent. Innocent. Jordan's voice was cold. No one's innocent. She took him from us. From you. I don't care anymore. I don't want Daniel if it means doing this. Then Jordan did something that made Daniel's blood freeze. He hit Elena. Hard. Knocked her to the ground. You don't get to back out now, Jordan snarled. We're in this together. If you try to leave, if you try to warn them, I'll kill you first. Then Mia. Then Daniel. Then myself. Everyone dies. Or you play your part. Choose. Elena, bleeding from her mouth, nodded in terrified submission. The video ended. Daniel stared at the blank screen, his mind reeling. Elena wasn't willing. She was coerced, Martinez said. Threatened. Possibly abused for months leading up to the wedding. We've found evidence Jordan was gaslighting her, isolating her from friends and family, making her financially dependent on him. This wasn't 2 willing participants. This was one psychopath manipulating a vulnerable woman into becoming his accomplice. So Elena's a victim too? It's complicated. She still participated, still stood guard, still helped him. But her culpability is different than we initially thought. Daniel felt his world shift again. Nothing was as it seemed. Jordan wasn't just a predator. He was a master manipulator who'd been playing a long game for 23 years. If you're still watching, you deserve to know how this ends. But I need to warn you. What happens next proves that some monsters do face justice, just not the kind you'd expect. Comment karma if you believe in cosmic justice. 8 weeks after the attack, police got a tip from a motel clerk in northern Montana. A man and woman matching Jordan and Elena's descriptions had checked in 3 days prior. Paid cash, kept to themselves. A tactical team surrounded the motel room. Detective Martinez was among them, determined to see this through personally. Jordan Mitchell, Elena Rodriguez. This is the police. Come out with your hands up. Silence. They breached the door. What they found was a scene that would close the case in the most unexpected way. Jordan's body was on the bed. Gunshot wound to the head. Suicide. Elena was in the corner, alive, clutching the gun, rocking back and forth. I couldn't do it anymore, she whispered when they cuffed her. I couldn't live with what we did. What he did. I tried to convince him to turn himself in. He laughed. Said we'd never see justice because he was too smart. So you killed him? Martinez asked. I freed us both. Elena's eyes were hollow. He said if I went to police, he'd kill me. Said he had nothing left to lose. So I took the choice away from him. She was arrested for murder. But when the full story came out, the coercion, the abuse, the threats, the manipulation, her lawyer negotiated a deal. Involuntary manslaughter. 20 years with possibility of parole in 12. Jordan was dead. Elena was imprisoned. The case was closed. But for Mia and Daniel, the nightmare was just beginning its next chapter. Mia was discharged from the hospital 12 weeks after the attack. Multiple surgeries had repaired the physical damage. Months of therapy had begun addressing the psychological scars. But the woman who came home wasn't the same woman who'd walked down the aisle. She barely spoke, couldn't tolerate physical touch, even from Daniel. Nightmares woke her screaming. She saw Jordan's face everywhere, in strangers on the street, in shadows at night, in reflections. Daniel tried everything. Patient, understanding, gentle, but nothing worked. The distance between them grew. 6 months after the attack, Mia asked for a divorce. "It's not your fault," she told Daniel, tears streaming down her face. "But every time I look at you, I see that day. I see your tuxedo. I see the church. I see Jordan standing next to you. I can't separate you from the trauma. We can work through this." "No, Daniel, we can't. He didn't just rape me. He murdered who I was. The woman you married doesn't exist anymore. And it's not fair to either of us to pretend she's coming back." Daniel wanted to fight, wanted to beg. But looking into Mia's empty eyes, he understood. Jordan had won. Not the way he'd wanted. But he destroyed what Daniel loved most. The divorce was finalized quietly. Mia moved across the country to live with her sister. Started over with a new name in a place where no one knew her story. Daniel stayed in their apartment, surrounded by wedding photos he couldn't bring himself to throw away. 2 years after the attack, Daniel received a letter. No return address, just his name in familiar handwriting. Inside was a single page from Mia. "Daniel, I'm writing to tell you that I'm okay. Not healed, maybe never healed, but okay. I've learned to live with what happened. Learned that survival isn't about erasing trauma. It's about carrying it without letting it crush you. What Jordan did wasn't your fault. I know you blame yourself. I blamed you too for a while. But that was misplaced anger. The only person responsible for that night is dead. I'm writing because I want you to know I don't regret loving you. I don't regret marrying you. Those vows we said were real. That love was real. What happened doesn't erase what we had. It just ended it before we were ready. I hope you find happiness again. I hope you trust again. Don't let Jordan's poison infect the rest of your life. He took enough. I'm telling you something I've had to learn. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about refusing to let the person who hurt you control your future. I forgive you for not protecting me. I forgive myself for trusting the wrong person. And I'm working on forgiving Jordan. Not because he deserves it, but because carrying hatred is too heavy. Be well, Daniel. Live the life we were supposed to have. For both of us. Daniel read that letter 17 times. Cried over it until no more tears would come. Then carefully folded it and placed it in a box with their wedding photos. Mia was right. Jordan was dead, but his poison lingered. The question wasn't whether Daniel would survive. He already had. The question was whether he'd ever truly live again. This is the devastating reality of trauma. The physical wounds heal. The perpetrator faces consequences. But the survivors? They live with invisible scars forever. 3 years after the attack, Daniel started a foundation supporting survivors of sexual violence. Called it Mia's Light, named not for what was taken, but for what survived. 5 years later, he heard through mutual friends that Mia had remarried. To a woman. Someone gentle and patient who understood trauma. Someone who didn't represent the past. Daniel cried when he heard. Not from grief, but from gratitude. Mia had found a way forward. 7 years later, Daniel started dating again. Slowly, carefully, building trust one day at a time. Jordan wanted to destroy 2 lives. Instead, he created 2 survivors who refused to let darkness win. That's not the happy ending anyone wanted, but it's the real one. And sometimes, that's enough. If this story affected you, if it reminded you that evil hides in plain sight, that trust can be weaponized, that survival is possible even after the unspeakable, share this video. Comment your thoughts. Subscribe so you never miss stories that matter. Because the real horror isn't that this happened. It's that it happens every single day to people just like Mia. People who trusted the wrong person. People who never saw it coming. People who survived anyway. Their stories deserve to be told. This is True Crime Files HQ, and I am your one and only Christian, and as always, until next time.